In this video, I'm going to put the 2020 HP Omen 15 and the Acer Predator Helios 300 head-to-head. I have run these two laptops through 14 creator-focused benchmarks, covering video editing in Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, motion design, graphic design, photo editing, 3D modeling, and a whole lot more. Let's get rockin'! If you're new to the channel, my name is Benji Kaiser. This is where you're going to find the best tech and tools for creative professionals. Now, if you're curious about the exact pricing of either of these models as we're heading through the video, you can head down in the description below and click one of those links. Now, if you do use that link to make a purchase, I will get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you, and that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. As always, we dive right into the build quality, and both of these laptops have very different appearances. The Helios 300 with its glowing Predator emblem and the HP Omen with its matte, deep gray top cover and iridescent square triangular shape. Regarding which one I would feel more comfortable in a client meeting, I would choose the HP Omen. Concerning the build quality, however, each laptop stands out on its own right. The HP Omen with its plastic top cover, bottom cover, side panels, and aluminum keyboard deck. The Helios 300 with its aluminum top cover, side panels, and keyboard deck, but plastic bottom cover. I'm a big fan of HP's redesign of the Omen. However, I still have to give my build quality award to the Helios 300 for the overall winner of this category. It is slightly edges out the Omen with its aluminum finishing. It has a few more, and I just think it's a little bit more sturdy because of that. The port selections are very similar between these two models, but the HP Omen stole my heart with the built-in SD card reader. It is one of the only gaming laptops that still features this nifty little port for video editors and photographers. As I open the lid on each of these laptops, I'm able to do so with one hand. The hinges are very smooth and strong. There is only a slight bit of screen flex that is equally present on the HP Omen and the Helios 300. I would rate the hinges as a tiebreaker. Both feel solid and sturdy. Now, before we move on to the screen quality, I want to discuss the ventilation on each of these two laptops. Both the HP Omen and the Helios 300 have generous vents for cooling. They both have vents on the bottom cover, top of the keyboard deck, and behind the keyboard deck. The Helios 300 has vents on the side panels, whereas the HP Omen has only a vent on the right side, but the HP Omen has a very breathable bottom vent compared to the Helios 300, giving it a slight advantage during the cooling performance. You can see here in the 4K thermal benchmarks that the HP Omen beats out the Helios 300 by roughly 3 degrees Celsius during the 4K export out of Premiere Pro. But how noisy are these fans and how well do they cool the laptop during the benchmark test coming up later in the video? At idle, the Helios 300 kicks on to 37 decibels, whereas the HP Omen had no audible fan noise. But during web browsing, it kicked up to about 45 decibels. The Helios 300 ramped up to around 43 to 46 decibels while web browsing. During the 4K video editing export in Premiere Pro, the Helios 300 ramps up to around 51 decibels, and the HP Omen gets a little louder at 59 decibels. During the DaVinci Resolve export, the fans on the Helios 300 were at 55 decibels, and the HP Omen was a little bit louder at 65 decibels. Now, for the Photoshop benchmark test, the Helios 300 was at 51 decibels, and the HP Omen ran at around 45 to 61 decibels, depending on the task it was conducting during the benchmark at the time. So it fluctuated a little bit more than, say, the Helios 300 did. Now to check how well the fans did cooling the components during those different tests. Here are the benchmark results. All right, now that we have covered those details, let's get into the screen quality. The Acer Predator Helios 300 comes with a 15.6-inch Full HD 16:9 display that can reach 144 Hz. At full brightness, it can reach 310 nits with a color gamut range of 97% sRGB, 77% Adobe RGB, and 77% DCI-P3, all at an average Delta E of 1.86. For a gaming laptop, this is a fantastic screen, but I must say the HP Omen is not as impressive. The HP Omen comes with a 15.6-inch Full HD 16:9 display, 60 Hz refresh rate, and can reach 200 nits at full brightness. Now, it does have a 66% sRGB, 49% Adobe RGB, and 49% DCI-P3. Now, you might be saying, well, other reviews online that I've been seeing say this laptop can get 99% sRGB and 75% Adobe RGB, and that is correct if you have the 144 Hz version of this laptop. So whenever you're purchasing the laptop, make sure you double check the specs in the product description. Now, I will try and find the 60 Hz model that I'm reviewing, but up until this point, I've yet to be able to find that. So I will definitely link as many options as I can find in the description below. The Helios 300 comes with a numpad, whereas the HP Omen does not. Personally, I'm completely fine with this detail because I've never used a numpad. Have you? Drop in the comment below. Do you often use a numpad, and what do you use it for? Anyway, I digress. Both keyboards have a soft touch material on the top of the keys, complemented by a firm, snappy key press and excellent key travel. I will say both keyboards are worthy of your choice, but I personally lean towards the HP Omen. It feels very comfortable beneath my fingers, and I like the layout a little bit more. Both the HP Omen and the Helios 300 come with an all-in-one trackpad with the click built in. For the longest time, I gave the award for the best gaming laptop trackpad to the Helios 300, but I must say that the HP Omen rivals the Helios 300 trackpad, and it may in fact have my winning vote to overtake the Helios 300. It has an excellent matte finish that feels slightly tacky beneath my fingers, so as I drag my finger across it, to me it feels great while conducting video edits, designing in Adobe's Design Suite, and more. It kind of has that nice drag, so you really get a feel for what you're doing when you're working. You'll be happy to know that if you're needing to jump on any virtual meetings, that either computer will work fine. Each has a 720p webcam. Concerning the on-the-go capability of these two laptops, the HP Omen weighs in at 5.43 pounds at a thickness of 0.89 inches, whereas the Acer Predator Helios 300 weighs in at 5.51 pounds at a thickness of 0.90 inches. Concerning the battery life, the HP Omen will get around 5 to 6 hours of web browsing battery life and about 3 to 4 hours of design and video editing out of its 70.9 watt-hour battery, whereas the Helios 300 will get roughly 5 to 6 hours of web browsing and 2 to 3 hours of design and video editing out of its 59 watt-hour battery. If you're enjoying this video and getting some value, gently press down on that like button and let me know how you plan on using this laptop by dropping a comment below. If you want more content like this in the future, then make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of the future uploads. Okay, let's get back into the video. Moving on to the main event, the performance benchmarks between the HP Omen and the Acer Predator Helios 300. The HP Omen I'm reviewing comes with the AMD Ryzen 7 4800H with 8 cores and 16 threads, the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Ti with 6 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM and 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and 256 gigs of solid-state hard drive. Whereas the Acer Predator Helios 300 comes with the Intel 10th Gen Core i7-10750H, 6 cores and 12 threads, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 with 6 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and 512 gigs of SSD. Jumping right into the 3D modeling test, let's take a look at how these two laptops handle Autodesk and a few other programs. The HP Omen nails the Autodesk 3ds Max with a 131.45, whereas the Helios 300 scores a 140. The HP Omen completes the Autodesk Maya test with a 155.32, and the Helios 300 completes that same test with a 177.16. And for PTC Creo, the HP Omen scored a 116.63, and the Helios 300 scored a PTC Creo of 140.64. And for SolidWorks, the HP Omen got a 69.06, and the Helios 300 got a 68.6. 3D modeling was a close battle, but as you see, both laptops handled it very well. However, the Helios 300 took a few bigger wins on these tests. It really just kind of give or take here. Moving on to the motion design, I am using Puget Systems After Effects benchmark and the After Effects render benchmark. Per the charts, you can see that the HP Omen pulled slightly ahead of the Helios 300, but not by much. The HP Omen scored a 744 over the Helios 300's 683. Things change a little bit when looking at the After Effects render test results. Due to the Helios 300's beefier RTX 2060, it was able to score a 593 over the HP Omen's 1660 Ti with a 498. Just before moving on to the video editing test, let's take a look to see how well this laptops will perform in Adobe's Design Suite by benchmarking them with the Puget Systems Photoshop benchmark test. Both laptops perform well, capturing an equally suitable score, making each of these laptops a great fit for Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. But do note that the HP Omen had a slightly lower score of 579, coming in behind the Helios 300's 613. Okay, now on to my favorite benchmark test, video editing. First, I'm going to start off with a playback test. For this test, I'm going to take a 9-minute 4K clip, add some motion graphics, and then play it back in the timeline at full quality. This clip contains 16,177 frames in total, with 7,240 of those frames being motion design. Let's go check out that drop frame indicator for each of these laptops. The HP Omen at full full quality dropped 1,185 frames, at half quality 126, and at fourth quality 0. During this test, the Acer Predator Helios saw drop frame rates of at full quality 62 frames dropped, at half quality 2 frames, and at fourth quality 0 frames. Considering that I was only running Premiere Pro during these tests, you may see slightly higher drop frame rates while multitasking. But you can easily switch to half or fourth quality to continue to get smooth playback in the timeline. Concerning the rendering of the motion design effects, I was able to render out the 7,240 frames in just 3 minutes and 45 seconds using the HP Omen, and a little bit faster out of the Helios 300 with 3 minutes and 28 seconds. But both are impressive render times for that test. Moving on to the 4K export test, I'm going to take a 9-minute 4K clip, place it into Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, then export both out at 1080p and 4K YouTube settings. Do note that I am using the free version of DaVinci Resolve, so that makes a slight difference for you if you're using the paid version. The HP Omen did the 4K to 4K Premiere Pro export in 4 minutes and 13 seconds, and the Helios 300 in 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The HP Omen did the 4K to 1080p export out of Premiere Pro in 3 minutes and 14 seconds, and the Helios 300 in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. For the DaVinci Resolve 4K to 4K export, the HP Omen did that in 9 minutes and 3 seconds, and the Helios 300 in 12 minutes and 41 seconds. The HP Omen 4K to 1080p export out of DaVinci Resolve 4 minutes and 21 seconds, and the Helios 300 7 minutes and 3 seconds. When looking at the export benchmarks, you can see that the Intel processor really capitalized on Adobe's connection with QuickSync, whereas Ryzen really wins out in DaVinci Resolve. And here is the component usage of each of the laptops during the key benchmark tests of this video. And if you're curious how bad the Ryzen 7 kicks the pants off of the i7-10750H for multi-core performance, then here are the Geekbench and Cinebench R20 tests. If you're looking for a high-performance Ryzen laptop with an aluminum keyboard, great cooling performance, and one of the best keyboard decks and trackpads I have ever used, then you should be taking a look at the HP Omen. However, if you're looking for an aluminum laptop that performs cool and fairly quiet while getting great benchmark results in Photoshop, video editing, 3D modeling, and motion design, all packed within a bright color accurate screen, then you will want to snag the Acer Predator Helios 300. If you're curious about the price of either of these models or you're ready to make a purchase, you can head down in the description below and click one of those links. Now, if you do make a purchase through one of those links, I will get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. And that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. If you want more videos about the HP Omen or the Helios 300, you can click or tap the screen over here. Otherwise, keep editing, keep designing, keep creating. I'm Benji Kaiser, and I'll see you here in the next video.